Adam Schefter, national media, working out, doing Shedeur Sanders workout on live TV. First time I've seen this in history. At one point she said Deshaun Watson was in the league. Now she's saying Shedeur Sanders is applying pressure.
The national media does not do this. Adam Schefter, one of the biggest names in NFL reporting, got on live TV and ran through Shedeur Sanders' actual workout. 30-pound dumbbells, military press, the whole thing, on camera, unscripted. At the same time, Mary Kay Cabot is out here changing her story on who is actually leading the Browns quarterback race. First, she had Deshaun Watson out front. Now she is saying Shedeur is the one applying pressure. Two different stories in the same week. We're getting into both right now. Let's start with the workout, because this one is wild, even by 2026 standards. Browns training camp officially opened as rookies reported, and the storyline that jumped out was not a stat line or a depth chart. It was Adam Schefter picking up a set of dumbbells on live television and running Shedeur Sanders' actual training regimen in front of a national audience. Think about that for a second. Schefter is not a hype guy. He's not a former player turned analyst who does workout content for engagement. He's the guy who breaks trades and injury news and front office moves. For him to physically get up, grab 30-pound weights, and go through single-arm military presses because Shedeur Sanders' workout became a topic worth demonstrating on air, that tells you something about where the attention is shifted. The segment leaned into it too. They called it breaking news as a joke, but the joke only works because it is not that far off from the truth anymore. Shedeur Sanders has become appointment viewing, whether people want to admit it or not. Somebody on set even said it out loud, that they want to see if Schefter can do the same reps Shedeur does, because everybody at home wants to know exactly how hard this guy actually trains. And here's the part that connects everything together. Earlier in the same coverage, Shedeur himself was quoted acknowledging his own reach. He said he understands his name is basically the algorithm right now when it comes to sports media. Every camp update, every practice rep, every quote gets amplified because his name alone drives engagement. He wasn't complaining about it either. He said last year he took some of that attention a little more personally, but now he gets it. Content creators are trying to make a living, and he can't be mad at people capitalizing on the moment. That's a mature answer from a guy who's still fighting for a starting job, but it also explains why a Schefter workout segment even happens in the first place. When your name moves numbers, national reporters start building content around you, not just reporting on you. That's a different tier of attention, and it's exactly the kind of thing that puts pressure on everyone else in that quarterback room, whether they say it out loud or not. Think about how rare this actually is around the league. There are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and most backups do not get this treatment even when they're playing well. National insiders do not typically demonstrate a backup's offseason program on live television. They save that kind of coverage for guys who are already established or guys whose situation has become genuinely undecided. Shedeur falls into that second category right now, and the workout segment is proof that the national media has already made that call, even before training camp battles have really gotten started this year.
Adam Schefter, national media, Sanders workout on live TV. First time I've seen this in history.
Can we open up the gate over here? All right, Hawk.
We're going to go do this.
Yes. Jack brought 30-pound dumbbells into the studio today, and where are they?
They're over here.
They're over here.
Chef,
we're going all the way out here to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Green, if you remember Shefty's arms when he had his tattoos.
Yes.
I think Shefty could knock these out, too.
Okay. Absolutely. So those are 30 pounds.
One for you, one for me, Sean?
Go ahead. What do you say?
Okay. We're going to military press.
Yeah.
I got terrible shoulders. We're doing single arm.
Right.
And he was probably doing like 10 of these, then you do 10 of the other arm. But he's a quarterback, too. So quarterbacks can't lift heavy because then Mike T won't pay him when he has torn labrums, bad shoulders. So not incredibly hard for the people at home.
Greedy, we should sign Hawk. We should sign Hawk right now.
There you go.
Hold on, because the workout clip alone is not even the biggest story out of this coverage. The bigger one is what Mary Kay Cabot just admitted. Rewind the clip and watch Schefter actually go through the reps. Single-arm military press, 30 pounds, 10 on each side. He gets through it, jokes that those weights are real, jokes that everyone watching probably assumes it was staged. And then somebody on set yells out asking if he is playing quarterback for the Browns this year. It is funny, but it is also a little telling. The bit only lands because Shedeur's training has become something people talk about with that much detail. Nobody builds a national TV segment around a backup's off-season program unless that backup has already become the story. Now here is where it gets more serious. In that same piece of coverage, Mary Kay Cabot was asked directly why the Browns' starting job is not already locked up. Her answer was not vague. She said it is because of Shedeur Sanders and what he has done. She said he came on really strong in OTAs and minicamp, and when the pressure was on, he rose to the occasion. Her exact concern was that if he keeps doing that through training camp, he is going to make this decision very, very difficult on head coach Todd Monken. Sit with that phrase for a second. Very, very difficult. That is not a throwaway line from a beat reporter. That is someone close to the organization telling you that a fifth-round rookie's actual performance is complicating a decision that was supposed to be straightforward with a $230 million guaranteed quarterback already on the roster. And that is exactly why this matters so much when you put it next to what Mary Kay was saying before. At an earlier point in this same off-season coverage cycle, she had Deshaun Watson positioned as the guy out front in that competition. Now, weeks later, the story out of her own mouth is that Shedeur is the one applying pressure and making the decision hard on the coaching staff. That is not a small adjustment. That is a full reversal on who she thinks is winning the job. When a reporter with that kind of access changes the story that dramatically, it usually means something changed on the practice field that cannot be spun away anymore. Reporters do not walk back their own earlier read unless the tape and the results are forcing their hand.
Then to try and fail.
Gotta love it, right? People secretly talk negative about Shedeur Sanders, but they have to admit they love Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur came on really strong, says Mary Kay. She says that he applied pressure.
What do you think the hesitation is at all? Why wouldn't this job be locked up very quickly?
Well, that's because of Shedeur Sanders and what he did about this whole thing. He came on really strong in OTAs and minicamp, and when the chips were down, he rose to the occasion.
Mary Kay is not the only one who cannot keep their story straight. Watch what happens when you line her up next to the rest of Browns media. This is where the bigger picture starts to come together, because Mary Kay's flip-flop is not happening in a vacuum. It fits a pattern with basically the entire Browns media cycle this offseason. Tony Rizzo gets brought up in the same breath, and for good reason. One segment, he is fully on the Deshaun Watson train, saying Watson is doing his thing and that he wants to see Watson get every rep. The next segment, he is talking about what Shedeur needs to do, what Shedeur still has to prove, shifting the entire conversation without ever really explaining why his reading changed. That inconsistency across multiple reporters is the actual story here, more than any single quote. When one insider changes direction, that is a data point. When multiple insiders with access to the building are all bouncing back and forth between Watson and Shedeur within the same month, that tells you the competition itself is genuinely unsettled. Nobody close to the team actually knows who is winning this job, and their reporting reflects that uncertainty in real time. Here is the context that makes it even more important. Deshaun Watson is not some camp arm fighting for a roster spot. He is guaranteed $230 million. He tore his Achilles not once, but twice, and missed the entire 2025 season recovering. By every normal roster logic, a quarterback with that contract and that draft pedigree should have this job locked down the moment he is medically cleared. That is how it works almost everywhere else in the league. Except that is not what is happening in Cleveland. Multiple reporters, using their own words, keep describing this as a real competition, and every time Shedeur puts together a strong stretch of practice, whether it's OTAs, minicamp, or now the start of training camp, that competition tightens instead of settling. Mary Kay's own quote captures it perfectly. She said his trajectory has been on a steep upward climb, and if he keeps climbing, the coaching staff will not be able to make this decision as fast as they originally wanted to. That is the actual headline underneath all the noise. It's not really about a workout segment or a reporter changing her opinion. It's about a fifth-rounder pick performing well enough, consistently enough, that it's forcing a franchise to slow down and actually think through a decision that a $230 million contract was supposed to make automatic. And it's not just Mary Kay and Rizzo saying it either. Field Yates has called this the truest quarterback competition anywhere in the league right now, which is a pretty remarkable statement when you consider who is actually in that room. You have a former #1 overall pick level talent in Watson, who signed the largest fully guaranteed deal in league history at the time. And you have a fifth rounder who wasn't even a lock to make an NFL roster on draft night. For a national analyst to call that an actual toss-up competition instead of a formality tells you the tape is doing all the talking here, not the contract numbers.
Her statements further explains why we have to be very cautious when we listen to certain people, because at one point she said Deshaun Watson was in the lead. Now she's saying Shedeur Sanders is applying pressure, making it very difficult for the Browns to make a decision. She just all over the place, just like Tony Rizzo. 1 minute he's saying Deshaun Watson is doing his thing, he want to see Deshaun Watson, and then the next minute he's talking about Shedeur Sanders needing to do this, he's needing to do that.
Here is the part most people are going to miss if they only watched the workout clip and moved on. The Schefter workout and the Mary Kay flip-flop are actually the same story told two different ways. One is the national media turning Shedeur's training into content because the audience demand is already there. The other is local Cleveland media adjusting its read on the quarterback competition because the practice results are forcing their hand. Both point to the same conclusion. Shedeur Sanders is no longer being covered like a developmental rookie sitting behind a $230 million starter. He is being covered like a legitimate threat to that job. And it is worth remembering how we got here. This is a fifth-round pick, the 144th overall selection on a 4-year deal worth roughly $4.6 million, with a bonus just north of $400,000. By draft slot and by contract, he was never supposed to be the center of this much national and local attention heading into year 2. But last season, he did not sit quietly. He got his shot in relief of Dillon Gabriel during the Ravens game and never gave the job back for the rest of that stretch, including a 364-yard, 3-passing touchdown performance against Tennessee in a losing effort that still turned heads around the league. That track record is exactly why a national reporter like Schefter is willing to build a segment around his workout routine, and exactly why a Cleveland insider like Mary Kay cannot keep her story consistent from one month to the next. When the tape backs up the hype, reporters have to keep adjusting in real time, and that is uncomfortable for people who are supposed to have the inside information locked down before the rest of us do. So where does that actually leave the Browns? According to the reporting that has stayed the most consistent, this still shapes up as a real two-man competition running through the bulk of training camp and the preseason games, not something being decided behind closed doors this week. Nobody in that building is actively shopping Shedeur, and nobody is fielding offers on him either. But every practice report, every camp update, every reporter walking back an earlier take adds more weight to the idea that Todd Monken and this coaching staff are genuinely torn, and that a fifth-round rookie has made this decision far harder than anyone in that front office expected it to be back in April. There is also a name worth watching in the background here, and that is Dillon Gabriel. He is the other quarterback in that room, and if anyone ends up as the odd man out in this competition, most of the recent chatter points to him being the more likely trade candidate rather than Shedeur, especially with his old head coach Kevin Stefanski now running things in Atlanta. That detail matters because it tells you which direction the organization is actually leaning. You do not keep floating trade scenarios around one guy while a national reporter is out here demonstrating a different guy's workout on live TV, unless the front office already sees where this is heading.
Let's put the whole picture together in one place. Adam Schefter, a national NFL insider who does not do stunt content, got on live television and ran through Shedeur Sanders' actual workout, 30-pound dumbbells and all, because the demand around this story is that real. In that same stretch of coverage, Shedeur himself openly admitted he knows his name drives the algorithm right now in sports media, and he is not mad about people capitalizing on that. Meanwhile, Mary Kay Cabot went from saying Deshaun Watson was out front in this competition to saying, in her own words, that Shedeur is applying pressure and making Todd Monken's decision very, very difficult. Tony Rizzo has done a version of the same back and forth. That is not one reporter having a bad week. That is a pattern across Browns media, and it lines up with a $230 million quarterback who has not been able to put this competition away against a fifth-round rookie who keeps climbing every single time the pads come on. Training camp is just getting started. Veterans are reporting any day now, and the real preseason reps are still ahead. If the reporting keeps shifting this much before a single preseason snap has been played, that tells you exactly how unsettled this quarterback room actually is heading into the most important stretch of the offseason. So here's the real question. Is Mary Kay's flip-flop a sign that Shedeur has genuinely won over the building, or is Browns media just reacting to whichever practice rep happened last and getting ahead of themselves? Do you think Shedeur walks out of training camp as WT starter, or do you think Deshaun Watson's contract and pedigree win out the moment he is fully healthy? Drop your take in the comments, Team Shedeur or Team Watson, and let's see which side actually has the numbers. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you catch every single update as this competition plays out. Smash like and subscribe.